We have so much to get into. Of course, there's a Jay-Z update because he and Tony Buzbee are going at it. Jay has been crashing out a little bit on the Roc Nation Instagram account, and we have to get into all of those details. Don't know if you saw last week, Spiro, Jay-Z's lawyer, came out and he was blazing at Tony Buzbee, the lawyer of the alleged woman who claims that when she was 13 years old, she was assaulted by Puff, Jay, and an unnamed female celebrity. Okay, so last week he held a press conference in New York where he completely blasted the inconsistencies that were in the filings. I mentioned when initially the filing was redone and talked about Jay-Z, one of the things that stood out to me right away was the fact that the times were different. That she said initially in the first report, she was very specific about what time she got to the venue, where she was, what time she got to the party, how long it took there. And then in the refiling, the one that mentioned Jay's name, the time sort of shifted. It was more ambiguous. So there were questions immediately about that for me. There were also things that were questioned as far as if you saw the interview that she did with NBC, where she said that her father came and picked her up, the gas station attendant, that she ran out of this place, basically unclothed, went to a gas station. She doesn't know where she was. Her father said that they lived in upstate New York at the time, and it would have been almost a 5-hour drive to go and pick her up. He didn't remember that. There were other inconsistencies. She talked about watching the awards on the big screen at the VMAs that year. Well, guess what? There was no big screen in Times Square to watch the VMAs. So that couldn't have happened. Now, it was there in 2003, but then you have another problem because the timeline is different, activities are verified, and the whole case is basically just a mess. So Spiro, Jay-Z's lawyer, came out guns blazing, and I'm going to play you a little bit of what he had to say. So this is from The Art of Dialogue. Let's see.
Said that somebody would be allowed to do this, they would make a mockery of the system like this. He's upset that this distracts and dissuades real victims from coming forward. He's upset that his kids and his family have to deal with this. He's upset, and he should be upset.
Will Mr. Carter say anything more specifically about Mr. Combs? He didn't really address him in his statement, but anything since outlets and internet speculation have tried to affiliate the two of them, he didn't really, in his statement, specifically say anything about any of the allegations.
I mean, Mr. Carter has nothing to do with Mr. Combs' case or Mr. Combs. They knew each other professionally for a number of years, just like in all professions. People know each other. At the music awards, they support each other. If you go to the NBA All-Star game, they support each other. That's just how professions work. There is no closer association between any of them. That's also a matter of fiction. That's all that there is. He doesn't know anything about the charges or allegations against him. He has nothing to do with that case.
So Dame Dash and a lot of others have come out and said, how is it possible that Jay-Z is claiming that he wasn't friends with Diddy? We've all seen pictures of them together. We've seen them partying together. They were best friends. You never had industry friends? You never had work friends? People that you talk to at work? You may have even gone to a function with them. But once you leave that job, you don't know that person anymore. I think that in an industry as such, you may have associations. You may have people that you even work with. But does that mean that you are good friends with them? I mean, it's up for debate, but what we do know is that Diddy was not at Jay-Z and Beyonce's wedding, and some of the more important moments, Jay and Beyonce weren't at Diddy's children's graduations, things like that. So I don't know. I mean, it is easy in hindsight to look back and disassociate yourself when things like this are going on. But I think it's very possible that they were industry friends because we've all seen them and everybody has them. Also, by the way, feel free to leave a comment or let me know what your thoughts are about any of this at any given time. So I mentioned Jay-Z crashing out, and I don't know if you saw the post and delete that hit up Roc Nation's Twitter. And it seemed like it was coming directly from Jay-Z. And this is what he said, because of course, Jay-Z is suing Tony Buzbee. Tony Buzbee is alleging that Jay-Z's law firm, their associates have been intimidating and threatening witnesses. There are two cases that have come to light where they are suing Tony Buzbee, former clients, where they allege that one, Tony tried to force them, allegedly, to lie about details in a case. And then the other one is a case dating back to a few years ago that has absolutely nothing to do with Diddy or Jay-Z or any of these things, where the individual claims that Tony pressed him to sue. And when he did, he only received 25% of whatever he was awarded in the case. And 94% of another sum, I can't remember what it is, also went to Tony Buzbee's law firm. And so he is suing for that. But Busby is alleging that these are popping up because of Jay-Z's law firm's influence and Jay-Z's influence, because he doesn't want the truth out, even though his client has all of these inconsistencies in her story. There is also another suit that has come up alleging that a woman that Tony had a relationship with may have been a client at some point, that he gave her a sexually transmitted disease. So many are questioning, why now? Why is all of this coming up now? Why wasn't it there before? But I mentioned this a couple of months ago. I mentioned this last year when Busby first was doing his 800 number for people to come and submit their information about an incident with Diddy, that he has been accused of unscrupulous business practices in the past. So will it hold up? We'll see. But back to Jay-Z and his crashing out. He said, Mr. 1800 said today that Roc Nation is criminally responsible for his legal woes with his ex-client / ex-lover, who is accusing him of transmitting venereal diseases, assaulting, falsifying documents, and stealing client monies. No and no. God is behind that sunlight you keep referencing. We are not the source of every sunlight that you get, but Roc sunshine is coming your way, Mr. 1800. Shameful. Now, as I mentioned, this is on the official Roc Nation Instagram account. It was later deleted, but that doesn't sound very PR crisis statement-ish. That sounds like that was personally written by someone. And some are questioning, was it Jay? Certainly seems like it maybe could be. And if it was, why is he crashing out on Roc Nation? He has his own Instagram account or Twitter account. At least he had one. What's going on with that? So it's been deleted for whatever reason, but the mudslinging keeps going back and forth. Now, just in case you were wondering about some other cases recently that Tony Buzbee has filed, the majority of them are high profile and celebrity driven. He also filed a lawsuit last summer against Chris Brown in Fort Worth because he claims that Chris, along with his entourage, brutally attacked and beat several men who had just attended his concert. He said that at least one of the men at the time, this was, I believe, in July, remained hospitalized. And he mentioned Chris Brown's history of assault and that the law firm is seeking damages on behalf of 4 men that are brutalized. So what his MO has been is to send a letter requesting a meeting. Very few of these cases actually end up with a lawsuit filed, because after these meetings, then something is negotiated. Most times, probably a monetary payout, because people don't want the embarrassment of these false details coming out, and it's very expensive to fight. Jay-Z has obviously chosen another route, so we'll have to see how this dish continues to turn. Damon Dash, of course, weighed in on that and what is happening with that. So Dame says that Alex Spiro, he knows from experience, is not to be trusted. So, let me pull that up, because once again, I mentioned this earlier, I do feel like some of what Dame is saying is sour grapes. He's saying that from his positioning, he would have simply taken this to court because it's false, and we'll battle it out in court. We don't even have to worry about, all of this pretrial stuff. What is this? So that is Dame's position on all of this. And so I'm going to get into what Dame had to say. Let me share my screen once again so that you can see what he had to say.
Drink champs can't get him out of this one, and neither can Charlemagne, because those are the guys that hold him down no matter what he does anyway. So he got to get to People Magazine and Entertainment Tonight right now, because they on his head. But the question is why? Like, why now? Because for me, I'd be like, yo, that's so ridiculous. Yo, take that to trial. You're not going to win. Let's get a deposition or something. So I don't know why they on his head so much. Pause. But I never seen him, under this. I never seen him in this position.
For me, I feel like, one, Dame, be serious right now. If someone was accusing you of something that is so heinous, you've turned into the chatty patty that you claimed everyone else was. You speak out about everything. And I'm not mad that you do. Everyone has an opinion. I'm stating mine right now. So go ahead. But to criticize Jay for defending himself just seems like another way to take shots at him. You are begging for Jay to respond to you. And for whatever reason, he is not going to do it. So that's all I have on that one. We are waiting to see, of course, how this all plays out. I do think that there is obviously enough evidence that there is something amiss. Now, listen, I am not saying that something did not happen to this young lady. Anything could have happened. Maybe she was with some people that told her they were Jay-Z and Diddy. I don't know. But it is clear that, at least in this instance, it is looking as if this particular case is not true. And really, 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 I think people need to slow down and wait for credible evidence. There's another case that was filed against Diddy recently, and the woman said that she can't remember the details, but she knows it happened. And once again, we know that there are all types of circumstances that happen with victims and how they cope with things of that nature. But if you were bringing a civil lawsuit against someone who you said is your attacker, there are some things that really, really need to be lined up, especially as heinous as these accusations are.